How are you going to get people to stop being trans?
I think we're going to tell boys that they're not girls,
so we're
that they're
going to
boys.
tell boys that they're not girls, and they're going to listen.
Yeah, basically.
Really?
Yeah, that's what we've done for most of history.
That happened to me, and I can promise you to God that I didn't listen.
Yeah, well, because we live at a time that is affirming the transgender delusion. But if we lived at a more sensible time, probably you would have listened, and you might have had some. And I think we should just return to a more sensible kind of politics.
But what is yours? You're not giving a solution on how you would even be capable of doing something.
Yeah, I think I am. I think we kick the fellas out of the boys' bathroom. We kick the transgender teaching out of schools.
How are you going to do that?
We just enforce the law as it was before 2015.
There was a law prohibiting trans women to go into the women's bathroom, or trans men going into the men's bathroom.
Yeah, it's there in the term women's bathroom.
That's a law.
That's why men can't go in.
That's a law.
Yeah. Yes, there are all sorts of laws against public indecency, for one, against men going into women's sports leagues. There are all sorts of regulations against that, or at least there were until recently. We did not have established in public life transgenderism until very, very recently.
That's not true.
That's
not true. What about the two-spirited people?
What is the two-spirited people?
In the indigenous community, they are, I don't want to get into semantics, but I know that the fact is that there has always been trans people.
Do you know where the phrase two-spirited came from?
I don't. Please enlighten me.
It came from the third annual Intertribal Native American First Nations Gay and Lesbian Americans Conference in 1990. And the woman who coined that term...
I just don't think that that's true.
It's true. The woman who coined that term admitted... Hold on. Let me just finish my point on this.
Funny how she just said that she doesn't know what it is, and for him to enlighten her, and then whenever he starts to enlighten her, she tells him that she doesn't think it's true. Well, how do you know if it's true or not if you don't know?
Let me just finish my point on this. The woman who coined that term, Maya Laramie, admitted somewhat recently that the term two-spirit came to her in a dream in 1990. Now, the Ojibwe Nation actually has translated this term. It's the Nish-Mani Duwag, but they translated it from the English in 1990.
How you're capable of eradicating an entire percentage of people by setting laws, because people are
I think you're choosing not to hear what I'm saying, because I'm saying we don't want to eradicate any people. We want to eradicate
in the prompt?
But the other word is transgenderism, which is an ideology, not a group of people.
I am a transgender person. You can't just
You are a
skip over
confused
that
person, but
I'm
you're not,
babe. I'm so secure in myself, and there's other women in this room that are also trans, have been trans for 20 plus years, 7 years, babe, that know exactly what they're doing.
You're confused because it's not possible for a man to become a woman.
How are you capable of looking at somebody without knowing their bodily autonomy, knowing anything that's going on with their medical history, anything?
Because I know,
you know nothing
I know
about
the
me.
Basics of human nature.
You know nothing about me.
I know that you're human. And I know a little bit about human nature. And I know that a boy can't become a girl. So that's what I know.
Does anybody want to take over?
Hi.
Hello.
Blossom. She, her, hers powerhouse.
Blossom Powerhouse. Lovely to meet you.
Yes. Go ahead. I want to know your ideology around transgenderism, something that doesn't exist. It just sounds more like conservative propaganda. So I kind of want to know a little bit more about what you're trying to communicate.
Okay. I think for all of history everywhere, people have understood the human person to have something to do with his body. So like your body has something to do with who you are. Now there is an alternative view, which is called Gnosticism. It's a view that our bodies don't really have anything to do with who we are, that the body is maybe even evil, and that our true selves have no connection to our bodies. And I see in the transgender ideology a kind of Gnosticism that says that you could look like a man, you could have a man's genetics, you could have a man's genitals, you could have a man's everything. But if you feel on some deep level that you're really a woman, then you are really a woman. And I don't think that's true. And I think that the social effects of that are really bad, because it leads to the depriving women of their legitimate rights. In some cases, it leads to rapes, notably in the last few years. And it also leads to women losing their sports competitions and their scholarships, and it's just disordered and false. And it also leads to more people adopting this identity, which leads to very high rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide. So it's bad for everyone, and it's not grounded in reality.
Oh, I don't even think you understand what you say sometimes. I don't think you even understand what you say, because when we talk about these rape cases of women in the restroom, they're coming from cis men like you. So let's
No.
be very clear
No,
where it's
that's
coming
not
from.
true. In
Oh,
20
it's
in
very, very-
2021
excuse me, do not interrupt a black
Well, I'm
trans
just
woman when she's
I'm just
speaking.
trying to
Do
correct
not
you.
interrupt
Well,
a black trans woman when she's
I would
speaking.
never
No,
interrupt
no,
a black
no,
woman.
No, thank you.
You made
Here's the thing about me as a black trans woman. I am not a threat to cis women, and I think it is harmful that you are going around here spewing that rhetoric, weaponizing this rhetoric against trans people.
Weaponizing facts?
Transgenderism does not exist. We as trans people exist. We are 1% of the population, and there is a lot of power in the trans identity because you are sitting here spewing something to me that doesn't really
I'm not
exist.
spewing anything. I'm just stating facts plainly.
I have lived experience. You don't, and you never will. But I do have a question
I have
for
lived
you.
experience.
What if one of your
I'm alive.
What if one of your kids came out as trans? How would you
God
react to
forbid.
that?
I mean, I would obviously love my children, and I
Okay.
would try to do what's best for my children. And the best thing that I could do to be respectful and also to be conducive to their flourishing is to tell them the truth, which is that they're not really girls.
Oh, come on. I can't even imagine your relationship with your children. No shade. But
great. That's a great
I
relationship
just
with my
cannot even
children.
imagine that. But here's the reality. We exist. Again, people like you do not have the intellectual capacity to hold conversations like this because in a minute you're going to reduce this down to genitalia and then we're going to have to shift this somewhere else because obviously
No, in
people
a
like
minute-
you, that's where they go.
I will say this categorically, that you cannot change your sex. I was rather hoping that you'd be interested in my opinion as a biologist, which just seems rather more important, because I'm going to say
Well, I'm
something.
just saying it only because the issue of academic freedom isn't solely
I'm about to say something which
limited
will
to
mean
trans.
that you'll probably want to edit the programme when I finish. But basically,
Right. Okay,
I
we're
will
all
say-
braced for it.
I will say this categorically, that you cannot change your sex. Your sex actually is there in every single cell in the body. You have a chromosomal sex, you have genetic sex, you have hormonal sex, you have all sorts of different kinds of psychological, brain sex, they're all different. And we are very confused about this, unfortunately, and regrettably, it's got into this argument that people are now will now accuse me of being transphobic.
Well, obviously, there are trans people who say you absolutely can do that.
Well, unfortunately, you can't say this publicly. This is one of the big problems. Even saying this on this programme undoubtedly will result in my getting a huge amount of hate mail. It always does. But I do think it's a big issue about the attitudes. There are, of course, issues which are important about young people who are confused about their sex, but we won't go down that route here. But it does affect a whole lot of issues in schools and elsewhere in our society. Of course, we should accept people as they are. Overall, I think it's a very sad thing that we can't discuss biological science without actually getting completely caught up emotionally with something which is really completely wrong.
As credible as this doctor may be, the problem with the left is that they're not going to listen to him. They're not going to believe anything that he say. And the hypocrisy is that they'll tell you when it came down to the jabs, oh, follow the science, listen to Dr. Fauci. And then when it comes down to the science of biology, they tend to want to dismiss just the basic understanding of male and female.
Really been reaching with facts. You don't believe in science. You don't believe in experts. You don't believe in research. You don't believe in data. You believe in conspiracy theories.
With all due respect, Representative, your party can't define what a woman is, so please don't talk to me about science.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully, this person's...
Got him! Got him!
Hilarious.
I wonder how you react though when you read that the Department of Education has written a letter to the NCAA suggesting that transgender women who have won titles and set records, they should be stripped.
If somebody's truly working or a part of the Department of Education, they would be smart and educated enough to know that something like that that's not how history works, and that's not how the direction of progressiveness works, and you can't take back history.
What does transgenderism in public look like to you?
It's allowing men to be treated for the purposes of the law as women. It's men taking 900 sports trophies from women in recent years.
And they didn't take 900.
They took 900. There's a report just came out from the United Nations, actually. 890 trophies and medals across 600 women who were competitors, across 29 different sports and 400 competitions. That came out like yesterday.
And they deserved them.
It didn't happen, and they deserve them. Okay, that is the logic I hear from the pro-trans crowd. Yeah.
Thank you. They do deserve them.
As someone who used to despise Trump, as a former Democrat and a gay person, I used to think Trump was like one of the worst people on earth, if not the worst person on earth. But I can assure you that it's in your best interest, if you still hate the guy, to consider that maybe you've been misled. Maybe there's a reason why so many Black, Latino, Asian, gay people support the guy. Why so many former Democrats like Tulsi Gabbard and RFK have moved over to the Trump camp. Maybe he's not this racist, homophobic, right-wing extremist. Maybe he's actually a pretty moderate guy with a unifying, common sense set of beliefs. It feels like a lot of people don't actually want the country to unite because it would involve admitting that they were wrong about Trump. But I can assure you, as a former Democrat, that admitting you were wrong is not going to be this terrible process, because the MAGA movement, believe it or not, is very accepting. It's very friendly. They will welcome you with open arms. It's in your best interest to at least consider, because we'll be celebrating. You're welcome to join us, or you're welcome to continue being in a state of negative, existential, crisis-level delusion.
Here is Rory Stewart explaining his connection to USAID.
Stopped. Doesn't matter. You have a contract. So, Turquoise Mountain, which my wife Shoshana runs, has a contract, had another $1 million to go. Money just stops.
Oh, hold on. Wait, there's a contract between some organization and USAID, and the contract stopped. And hold on, his wife ran that organization, and they were supposed to get another $1 million from the US government, and that just stopped? What organization does his wife run? It's called the Turquoise Mountain Foundation. You can't make this up. The Turquoise Mountain Foundation exists to teach Afghani peasants about degenerate modern art.
So this is in some ways often called the first piece of conceptual art. Does anyone know what it is? I don't expect the ladies to know. Exactly. An artist called Marcel Duchamp, who's very important in Western art, put this toilet in an art gallery about 100 years ago.
That's where your money's going. Your money is going, or was going until Trump got hold of it, to pay off the wives of British politicians turned Yale professors to teach Afghanis, who probably have more important things on their mind, about how perverse Western anti-artists decided to pretend that urinals and toilets were, Caravaggio paintings in the early 20th century.
You cannot be a practicing Catholic and be part of the current Democratic Party knowing that this group is actively working for the killing of the unborn. You cannot be part of a group or an association that's focus is to bring about moral evils. This is why for centuries, the Catholic Church has made it very clear that you cannot be a Freemason, because there are foundational principles of the Freemasons that are contrary to the Catholic faith. You cannot be part of something which is essential to it, moral evils, because you cannot be part of something and not support what is essential to it, picking and choosing what you want, what you like. And you have a moral obligation not to be part of that. There is a moral obligation here not to be part of them, regardless of whatever other good things you might think the Democratic Party is trying to bring about. Murder is a line you cannot cross.
And that is why it is almost impossible to pick and choose what you support as a Democrat, if you're a Democrat, because you have to believe in everything that they believe in. It's like a religion to them. Their causes and their ideology is at their core. So if you disagree with any part of their ideas, then they're gonna exclude you. You can't pick and choose what part of the Democrat platform that you agree with and disagree with. That's not how they work. You either all the way in or you're not. And they're going to shun you no matter what. If you're 99% in with the Democrats, but there's 1% of an idea that you disagree with, it's still not good enough for them.
Hello, Navarro, suck any good lately. What's wrong, Navarro? I think you like a big in your mouth. Ha ha ha. Page 23. The other boy, page 23. Here it is. What's the educational benefit of talking about the What's the educational benefit of talking about that? Is that going to help someone on the SAT score? Hear me kind. Get a shot of that. She can care less. That's a sign. She needs to put down her sign.
You see that? Do you see that? These people don't work for you. These people are activists. She's not there to represent what the voter base wants, what the constituents want. She's pushing her idea and what her party want her to push. You just seen that. She just sat up there and presented a poster like she's part of a protest while she's sitting at the bench as part of the school board member or whatever this is. That is insane. These people are activists.
Shout that. She can care less. That's a sign. She needs to put down her sign. For a second. Oh, you're putting me out. For what? For asking you to abide by the rules. A board member held up a sign, but the audience couldn't hold up signs. This is tyranny, and we're dealing with a corrupt government system.
There are two different things going on here with the Democrats. The first is they are watching with terror as all the different sources of government money that has propped them up for the last 60 or 70 years, all of it is now being challenged by President Trump and by Elon Musk. I mean, this cuts at the very base of their coalition. And if they can't bribe people, if they can't act corruptly, if they can't take care of their friends, their entire coalition is going to collapse. Second, you have a very large part of the Democratic Party for whom the beliefs you were describing, transgenderism, for example, are religious beliefs. This is a secular religion. They can't unlock because they believe these things. They believe in an open border. They believe that there really is no such thing as America. They believe that it's really good to have millions of people flood into this country. It's really good to have people who don't have to work, that work requirements are inherently bad. All of these things are a semi-religious or religious belief system, and that's why they can't unlock. It's not rational. They can't sit down and do a common sense analysis. They're instead trapped into being for things that are profoundly unpopular with most Americans.
I've got a lot of friends who are Democrats, and they haven't asked me for advice, but if I did, I'd tell them, look, you just got to try harder not to suck. I mean, think about it. Over the past 4 years, the Democrats mismanaged Congress, they mismanaged COVID, they mismanaged the economy, they mismanaged inflation, they mismanaged the national debt, they mismanaged Afghanistan. More recently, in their opposition to President Trump and Mr. Musk, the Democrats have chosen to support the bureaucrats and the spending porn over the American taxpayer. Just like they support illegal immigration over the rule of law, just like they support transgender athletes over women's sports, just like they support Hamas terrorists over Israel. All Democrats are not like this, but the party is controlled right now by people who majored in online activism with a minor in puberty blockers. I know these people. They think women, they think men can breastfeed. They're triggered by race. They cry if you use the wrong pronoun. And most fair-minded Americans look at this and they go, these people are about 10 exits past normal. And that's what's killing the Democrats right now.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, yo. He is the funniest senator. I promise. There's nobody funnier than John Kennedy. I promise you that. Go watch all of them on all of these hearings. There's nobody funnier. He is the funniest guy next to Trump in politics right now. Absolutely hilarious. But he's right. He is absolutely right. So was Newt Gingrich on what he just said. They're both 100% right. These people actually believe in these things wholeheartedly. That's why if you're ever wondering, how are these Democrats still believe the same things that they still believe after what just happened? After the American people during elections showed them clearly what we are for, what we want, and they're still going against that. There's still some of them that are, hey, pushing for open borders and the transgenderism and men's sports and all that, right? Blase, all that nonsense. They're still pushing it. They're still pushing the same nonsense. So that's because, like he just said, like Newt just said, they can't unlock. They believe in this to their core. And they're never going to change because they prop up people like Jasmine Crockett and AOC and all these woke members of the squad to be the next leader. Or they have like Hakeem Jeffries, whose literal freaking personality is as empty as a cloud. This guy is as lame as it can possibly get. David Hogg, literally zero testosterone. None at all. Unmanly as it gets. All of these Democrats are lame.
In America. Mayor Pete.
Is that a gay joke?
No. Mayor Pete. No. Well, no, it's just that he's not particularly masculine. Nobody's like, oh, Mayor Pete, he's a badass. Chuck Schumer. Is anybody like, hey, Chuck Schumer holding up an avocado and a beer to talk about the Super Bowl? Is anybody like, hey, that's a dude I want to hang out with?
But Trump's like a grandpa.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Trump took a bullet in his ear and immediately stood up and said, fight, fight, fight. Every man in America and most of the women out here were impressed by that, even if the women won't admit it. She's shaking her head strong. And second part of this, basically summing it up, Democrats for men are pussies and Republicans
Democrats for men
are pussies. There are no masculine men in the Democrat Party right now.
I told you guys, it is embarrassing to be categorized and associated with the Democrats. I mean, come on. If you're a Democrat and you say you're a Democrat, you say you voted for Kamala Harris, coming out nowadays and admitting that you voted for Kamala Harris is embarrassing. I haven't heard anybody say, you know what, damn, I voted for Kamala Harris. No, they're all silent right now. They're just crying about Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, hit the like button down below. It really helps the channel out. And if you're brand new, you like the content, consider hitting subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.